Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Successful Marketing Summit, where gathered some of the best and brightest minds when it comes to marketing today. And today, I'm super excited to have the guest, Sabah Ali. My name, Mats David Awesome Goldberg, and this is Sabah that you see right here on the side. So Sabah, she is the founder of Unforgettable by Saba, a movement that I understand inspires women in the industry to challenge themselves in becoming a better version of themselves every day. And the mission is to bring together badass women and elevate them to not only go after their dreams and goals, but to feel confident taking those steps. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
Awesome. And Sabah, you're also a best-selling author. You're a speaker. You've spoken at TEDx. You're an Instagram queen. And from what I know, recent college graduate as well. Congratulations to that.
Yeah.
And from what I understood, you started building your personal brand when you were 19 years old. And you sort of struck like one of your biggest accomplishments so far, I'd have to say, by becoming a best-selling author on Amazon with your book, Enrolling in Confidence, How to Live the lifestyle you want in college. And you dedicated this book to every college student who's looking to live a great lifestyle in college, along with finding their main purpose in life. So welcome, Sabah, to the Successful Marketing Summit.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Awesome. I am excited to have you here because I know you from following you on Instagram and seeing all the content that you're actually sharing with this movement of yours. I'm not sure, tell me, how did this Unforgettable by Saba start? Where did you get the idea from?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so the idea of my brand Unforgettable by Saba actually started before my last year of college. So now it's been a year since I graduated, which is crazy because it's flown by. But it was actually August of 2017, where I was at a mastermind with one of my mentors. And what happened was it was the weekend before I was going to start my last year as senior year. And I was thinking about, okay, what is it that I can create? A movement that's so much greater than just myself, just like my personal brand, my name, Sabah Ali, that I can actually inspire others to go out and do the same. So that's kind of how the entire movement of Unforgettable by Saba started, just because I knew that I had a story and a voice and a message to share. And I knew that a lot of other, women and entrepreneurs and just other entrepreneurs within the space had an ambition to do so much more, but they didn't really have that push. So, going way back to my story before people knew me as Unforgettable by Saba online, when I was in high school, I had a really low self-esteem. I lost my mom when I was 15. I was in a terrible 4-year relationship. So I didn't really have, confidence within what it is that I was doing. I came to college. I really didn't do anything my first year. And then I came across one of my mentors when I was 19 who got me into, the field of entrepreneurship. So the entire brand Unforgettable started focusing just on women entrepreneurs, which it still is. Obviously I'm a female. So when I create content, it inspires other people. But I realized that the message of being unforgettable in your business life and relationships is, for both people, for both genders. So as, I start to continue and flourish down, everything I'm doing with my business, it definitely caters to both people. But I know with, when I first started, it was focused specifically on women.
Awesome. And you come a long way so far. So what drives you today? What's the next goal? Where do you see yourself in 12 months time?
Yeah, totally. So right now, what it is I'm focusing on is I'm scaling my business. So what it is that I do right now is I help entrepreneurs and business owners build and scale their brands online. So that has a lot to do with storytelling when creating content, you know, PR, media, actually seeking and knowing how to position yourself within the online space, online and offline, to gain attention with what it is that you are doing. Because, you know, it's one thing to have a product and service, but it's another thing to have like a brand, so clients and audiences actually come to you. So that's what I'm focusing on. But I've also realized that for me, my story is really how I started everything. And I know that speaking is one of the best way to connect with people on in-person interaction, because social media and online can only do so much. So, you know, this year I'm focusing on scaling, but also, like, you know, this year and going into next year, I'm focusing on growing my speaking business. And so doing a lot more speaking. I give into TEDx talks, but I know that, you know, my message is to be heard, you know, at universities, at conferences, entrepreneur conferences, events, you know, different corporate locations too. I feel like the message that I share, yes, it has to do with, you know, business and branding and marketing, but more so, you know, when I work with people, the result that they're getting is like clarity and confidence, like direction and what it is that they're actually doing.
Yeah. Because I've listened to your TEDx talk, and you talk about disconnect and reconnect and stuff like that. I'll get into that a little bit more. But from what I got, the whole like idea is that you really managed to position your own brand in like the traditional media in ways that most people just dream of, like airtime, radio, TV, stuff like that. How would someone even start thinking of, okay, I want to be on TV as well? Do you have any like, start here, or do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, totally. So I'll kind of share my story about the first time that I got on TV, and it was with my best-selling book. So that was when I was 20. So I wrote my book, and then I was like, okay, I have my book written. And that was pretty much the first thing that I did in entrepreneurship to really build and scale my brand. So I was like, okay, what can I do to really leverage what it is I was doing? At the time, you know, I was working with my mentor and different things, and he's like, okay, so why don't you get PR and media attention for it? And I'm like, okay, like, let's just try and get on TV. So like my book specifically was focused on college students, and I wrote it in March or April of 2017. And at the time, you know, when I was pitching these local TV stations, I didn't pitch it right away because that was, you know, in school, that was towards the end of the school year, because it's like around May, people get out of school. So I waited until August when it was back to school season.
Yeah.
So that news, you know, that news media segment that I would be on, it would resonate with what was going on in the community. So what a lot of people mistake doing is when they're pitching these local stations, they make it about them. So if I pitch them saying like, hey, I wrote this book, you know, I want to promote it, odds are they wouldn't bring me on. However, when I pitched it to them, I waited until it was August and back to school, since it resonated. You know, my book was about teaching college students how to use principles to be really successful in college in their career field. Yeah. That was, you know, fit perfectly within, you know, the August timeline of things. Yeah. So honestly, when it comes to just like pitching local stations, it's honestly as easy as like finding their email and their contact information just on Google, and just pitching them a story that resonates with what's going on in the community. Because local stations, once again, they're covering news that's going on in the community. If you're pitching it and it doesn't have anything to do with it, odds are you're not going to be able to, you know, land a segment on there.
Yeah. But did you only go local? You went broader than that, right? Than just local radio station and TV station.
Yeah, so I always say to start local, just because people do want to see why you should be going on like different type of locations and stations. And it's always easiest to start local, just because, you know, when you're local, you're obviously a local person. But once again, like when I travel, I honestly try and pitch at all stations, just because I always have like a way to position like the story that I'm trying to pitch. So like earlier this year, it was the beginning of the year. So I knew social media, obviously a lot of businesses are trying to use it, especially on Instagram. So back in February when I was down in Miami, I was pitching local stations to do a live segment on like the 3 tips business owners can use to really use Instagram to grow their business and get more clients. So for that one, I was actually supposed to land it, but I wasn't in town the time that they scheduled it, so I couldn't do that one. But it's obvious. It's honestly, once again, a matter of like the time frame that you're pitching it, and what's going on within like the season and the community. But like, go ahead.
So when you said now you went to Miami, but you didn't pitch your book, then you pitched how companies could use Instagram.
Yes. Yeah. So how companies can use Instagram. So once again, like people think they need like a tangible product to get on TV. You don't. My book at the time, that was what it was I was promoting. Then back then, that's how I branded myself, you know, as that college entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Now, my focus isn't promoting my book, but my focus is growing my brand as, you know, that brand strategist at the time focused on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I knew, once again, that's a social media platform that's really popular and business owners want to know how to use it. So since it was the beginning of the new year, obviously what do businesses want to do? They want to start off strong. So that's why I pitched it at that
Okay,
time.
then I get the pitch part.
Yeah.
What you pitched. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. And I bet anyone could actually do this no matter what field you're in. I mean, just find the angle, as you say, and go with that. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So is there are there any like no-nos that like brands and companies should not try when wanting to like expose their brand? Do you have any like don't go there?
So yeah, when it comes to branding, whether you're just starting out, whether you're just a business, definitely like one of the main mistakes that you see why people aren't successful when it comes to branding is they go way too broad. So once again, when I started my brand Unforgettable, I was niche, and that was niche with female entrepreneurs. And specifically, even before I started my brand Unforgettable, I niched myself as a college entrepreneur. But as I started to grow and scale, then I started to rebrand myself. A lot of people, they look at the end vision, which is great. You should always have an end vision of where you're headed towards. But that end vision has to do with, you want to impact billions of lives, and you want to be in X amount of industries and help like X amount of people. But what happens is when you're first starting, you have to kind of go niche to be an expertise within that industry and then start branching off. Because there's so many people within the online space that are doing the exact same thing as you. So in order for one to differentiate yourself from, everyone who's doing the same thing as you is be known within that specific industry that you pick, but then have, position yourself as the authority within your industry, which comes with creating strategic content, knowing how to use storytelling, getting different PR and media features. But once again, when you're, creating content and using messaging to attract your audience, if your messaging is way too broad, you can't attract the right audience, which is why it's so hard sometimes for people to actually grow and scale their audience. And then, when it comes to a point when you actually get consistent people, then you can start to branch out.
Awesome. And so really, when you're talking about niching, it could be really, really super specific just to gain authority and say, I'm the best on this one.
Yeah, totally. And if you study a lot of big influencers, which I have done, like for example, Lewis Howes, when he first started, he was niched just on LinkedIn, and he was doing trainings and webinars on how to, build an audience and get clients. And look at him now, he has an entire empire that he's built, but it didn't start with him going very broad. It started with him going niche and then branching out that way.
Yeah, that's from what I see, like most really successful entrepreneurs online, that's the way they did. They started with something small and then it just grew and took small clients. Many of them started for free, like do free cases to have something to show, and then not go on the big fish straight away because you don't have anything to show for and stuff like that. So yeah. Okay, awesome. So as as a Instagram queen, an Instagram queen, do you have any like special tools or resources that you use specifically for like handling your business that you
Mhm.
recommend to the audience?
Yeah. So specifically on Instagram, I don't use a whole lot of softwares.
Mhm.
One that I have used and still currently do sometimes in the past is Social Info. So that's a really great tool to use to do a lot of hashtag research and research other accounts. That way you can see which posts are like kind of viral, which posts that you can like test and model off from. So
Yeah.
honestly, that's the one platform that I use as far as it comes to like Instagram management. Honestly, what it is that I do when I create content on Instagram or on Facebook or on any other social media platform is I just create content calendars. So a great way to do that is just, taking an Excel Google sheet
Yeah.
and literally just creating a calendar and creating your posts ahead of time in order to post it. I know a lot of people, they've used different platforms like Later to like automatically post on Instagram. But I've tried that in the past, but I think that kills your algorithm and your engagement because Instagram senses that as a bot. So it kind of just lowers your post with the natural feed.
Yeah.
So honestly, once again, when it comes to Instagram, it's just a matter of creating good content that once again speaks to your audience and using good targeted hashtags. I know a lot of people also within Instagram, they use engagement groups. So those are pretty much just like DM groups where you send your post to right after you post. So those people can go like and comment on it. So once again, that tells Instagram that that post is really popular. So it boosts it up on different, people's news feeds.
Mhm. That's good. Yeah, because I've heard so many people saying that, yeah, I don't get it. How do I like boost the comments and stuff like that? And I usually like suggest engagement groups as well, but there are good ones and bad ones. So yeah, it's you have to find something that is niche to you to
Totally.
get it
And
really.
yeah, and totally. And I know a lot of people also on Instagram, like they want to grow super fast. A great way to do that is like with shout outs. And so, like, big influencer accounts, they can shout you out. Obviously, you have to pay them a certain amount of money, or if you're selling like a product and you're wanting to, send that influencer a product and have them shout it out,
Yeah.
that's also a different way to, grow your audience on Instagram too.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm thinking like going this whole stretch. I mean, you had your mentor and everything, but as an old teacher myself, I usually told people that, or my students, that we all learn from our mistakes. Um, would you say that there are any like, or put it this way, what mistakes you wish that you'd done differently? Like what mistakes have you done that you wish, I should have done this differently, and why?
Yeah. So specifically, I wish I would have gone more niche when I first started
Hmm?
because I actually had the problem of being way too general and way too broad because I was scared I was going to cut out my audience and my market if I was going to go super niche. But
Yeah.
specifically, this was when even before I wrote my book, I had a podcast show which I did with one of my co-hosts who was a college student at the time too, and what happened was we were really early within our entrepreneurship journey. We didn't even have, businesses at the time. So we
Yeah.
were creating our first venture. And at the time we were going to focus it on college entrepreneurs. And it was going to be like a accelerator program in how to kind of start your network, get into entrepreneurship, build your brand online.
Yeah.
And we had it all set up, we knew what the modules were going to be and everything. And we launched it and we just completely fell flat on our face. And the reason why was because, for one, like we barely had any expertise. There wasn't necessarily a problem that we were solving. But number three, we were targeting college entrepreneurs who really didn't have that much money to invest, into us straight away. So
Yeah.
that's like what I see a lot of people, doing wrong, which is now what I teach other people to do is go through the motions, identify what niche industry that you are in, really hone into who that ideal client is. And then number two, what's the problem that you're actually solving? Like if you don't know what that problem is or what the pain points that your audience is having, it's going to be really hard for you to go out and create content and bring in audiences that you can actually sell to. So yeah, looking back, honestly, if I were to, you know, go back and do that again for one, I would have gotten a lot more expertise and experience, because I know at the time, I don't know if I was even, you know, applicable to sell people this, because I was just starting out. But if I were to do it once again, like go niche and focus on, okay, what's the pain point that my client is having, and provide them a solution to that problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally see that. Like you have to go in that order. Otherwise you're messing things up. So
Yeah.
that brings me back to what we talked about with your TEDx, with the disconnect and reconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that sort of hones into what you're talking about, how to pick your like target group?
Yeah.
Is
So
that a
with,
way that you used to?
yeah, so specifically with my TEDx talk, that was more so focused on the entire like mindset that you need in order to be an entrepreneur or really do anything in life. So that specific talk, it's focused on, you know, my story when I was, you know, in high school, went through that bad relationship, lost my mom as I was 15, but it was something that sparked inside of me. For me, it was a mentor that I found when I was 19, who showed me that I was capable of doing so much more than I thought I could be doing. So the entire talk of why you need to disconnect to reconnect was more so, a lot of people have experiences in their past, trauma and history, that they feel defines themselves and what they should be doing in the future. For me, that's what I thought when I went through all of that. So I never thought that I would be able to do everything that I'm doing right now. So in order to actually reconnect with your goals and your dreams and your ambition, you first need to disconnect with what's actually holding you back and reconnect with yourself. So like the entire gist of that talk, once again, is people think that in order to be successful, they need all of these external resources, which is true to a point. But if you are not connected within yourself first, it's going to be really hard for you to be successful. Because I always say, and Tony Robbins says this all the time, 80% of everything that you do is your mindset, and 20% of it is mechanics. If you are not, you know, if you're not working on yourself internally, it's going to be really hard for you to, you know, show that and show up every single day in your business and life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like when you put it that way, that is the starting point. And then you go to like what niche, what, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it takes you back. But I asked a few other speakers this question, and you know about it because you're in the ClickFunnels community as well. So you've heard about the 30 days challenge that the CEO Russell Brunson put out there. So I'll turn that back to some of my speakers as well. If you had 30 days, Sabah, you lost everything, what would you do in 30 days to bring you back to where you are now?
Yeah. So honestly, it's literally the exact same thing that I teach my clients and my coaches in everything that I do right now. So like what I teach with my coaching, it's literally like what we've been talking about. I start with picking out my industry and my niche, figuring out what the problem people are having within that specific industry and audience, creating content that specifically talks to that person, and having a well-crafted out high ticket offer in order to sell to that audience. Because for one thing that, once again, if I were to go back and start over, is starting low ticket is not a good thing to do. And the reason why is, if you don't have an audience and you're trying to sell a low ticket to only a few people, how many do you think you're going to sell? Only a handful, which you're not making that much of money. But if you know that there's a problem within your audience and you have a solution to it, you can, you know, coach them one-on-one and present a very higher ticket offer. So honestly, like every single thing that I'm doing right now, like if I lost everything, it would go back to like the foundations of going through that, identifying your niche, who that audience is, what the problem is, creating content based on that. Because honestly, you don't need that much fancy stuff. Like I don't run ads with anything I do. All of that I do is all organic. So yeah, like I think that's what it is that I would do.
Awesome. Awesome. So if I told you to start doing a business within, I don't know, baseball, that wouldn't be a problem because you do the same thing, right? Because it's the same like game plan, but just put in a different like niche
Yeah,
or different
it's
industry.
Yeah, it's the same fundamentals. So if you're focusing on baseball or fitness, whatever that may be, okay. In baseball, obviously there's so many different type of audiences, whether that's elementary, middle school, high school. Look at their pain points. Is someone struggling, knowing how to actually hold their bat, or is it mindset wise what it is that they're struggling with? Is it when they're actually out in the field? So once again, like the fundamentals that you're going through, it's the exact same thing. And like what you said, you can apply it to literally any industry that you're in.
Yeah, that's really, really good. So Saba, like a last thing before we wrap this like free part up, do you have, could you tell us first, what will we like learn in the advanced session in the, if people buy the all access pass? And I'll tell you more about that in a second, but what will they hear if they go pro?
Yeah, totally. So in that specific training, I really dive deep into how to build your brand, specifically, which I believe is the hottest platform right now, which is Instagram. Instagram, you can literally reach thousands and build up your audience way faster than any other social media platform out there. But I walk through, once again, the fundamentals of how to actually build a successful brand. So going through, once again, identifying like what your brand message is, creating targeted content to actually bring in the right type of audience. Followers don't really mean anything unless they're loyal. But actually, specifically honing on to that, but then also going through like the tactical thing. So the strategic way and how to actually, use hashtags to have your post seen in front of greater amount of people. I even go deep into how to actually monetize your Instagram account using like your stories and the link in your bio and different traffic streams to actually, sell the products that you're trying to sell. So specifically in that training, your focus is on how to use your brand to, grow your audience, your business and everything within the Instagram platform.
Awesome. And I know that there are lots and lots and lots of people really wanting to know, okay, so how do I work with this Instagram thing? So that would be awesome, Saba. So I'd say thank you for this first part. I really loved it having you here, speaking to the audience, and I got a few interesting notes as well. So to the audience, if you are interested in knowing more about Instagram, knowing the plans and strategics that Saba teaches, I would go and buy the all access pass, and you'll find a button somewhere here on the page and click that. It'll take you to an upsell, and you'll be able to not only just see the bonus video with Saba, but you'll get 24/7, 365 access to all the free videos. You'll get all the bonus videos or VIP materials from all the different speakers, including lots and lots and lots of bonus materials as well. So if I were you, if I want to do something really great with my company and take it to the next level, I'll go in and I'll click that all access pass. So until next session, Saba, thank you so much for being here. I'm very grateful. It's awesome having you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun for sure.
Lovely.